Right, okay, so hello Louise, how are you? Have you been in your hot tub today? This is the perfect weather for it, right? And the kids were at school, weren't they? So you got the whole house to yourself. While the kids were away, the parents will play, I think is a good slogan to live by. So, tonight we are going to talk about, can you find a new perspective in from your trauma that you have experienced. Now, I do appreciate that when I talk about this, some of you might feel, oh, not Benny, how many say? Yeah, do it with dates. Hi, Julie. Um, so I appreciate that this topic might make some of you really cross. It might upset a few of you because of any low vibration that you have still. And I'm going to give you a little disclaimer and say I am not trying to minimize what your experiences have been, okay? But what Athalia really wanted you to understand is through those experiences you learned something or you discovered something about yourself. And it's that perspective that we're going to work on. So before we actually start today, she wants us to actually, hi Mickey, your timing is very good. What Athalia would like us all to do today is to go into the Chamber of God together. So if you're watching this on replay, the energetics of this will still hold and you can go into the Chamber of God. The Chamber of God is a energetic holding where we can meet our higher selves and we can commune with them with much more ease than say normal. So we're going to just do that first. So what I want you to do is just close your eyes for me. Take a nice deep breath in and out and connect with your higher self. So you ask your higher self to come close and connect with you through your hope vortex and to intertwine her energy with your soul energy in that around that white energetic tube. If you are a man watching this on replay, it is male energy. Your higher self is male. And we're going to ask your higher self now to take you up to the Chamber of God. Your higher self knows exactly how to do this. And for each of you, the Chamber of God might appear differently. For some people, it's like a gold room. For others, it's like I don't really see what the Chamber of God looks like. I just know I'm there. Others will see sort of beautiful landscapes, the sea, beaches, hills, mountains, whatever is right for you. There's no right or wrong when you are going into the Chamber of God. Okay? So I'm just waiting for confirmation. Right, you're all there. Marvellous. Okay, right. So the reason why we're going into the Chamber of God is because in the Chamber of God, you can feel the unconditional love that your higher self has for you and for and has had for you your entire life, even when you went through some of your most traumatic and difficult experiences. And so I just want you to take a couple more deep breaths, close your eyes, and just allow yourself to feel the love that's flowing from your higher self to you. And then I want you to send it back, reciprocate it back to your higher self. They've been loving you unconditionally, constantly, since before you were physical humans. They wanted you with so much love and with so much purpose. So just allow yourself to experience this. Some of you might find that your love vortex starts to be triggered and open up. For me, it's my truth vortex. I can feel as I feel Athalia's love for me. Others of you might have all of your vortexes of emotion beginning to open up for you. So it might be your strength at the base of your perineum, your truth vortex, which is near your belly button, your hope vortex in your solar plexus, love, Hi Zoe, we're just getting the Chamber of God and we're just looking at. So ask your husband to take you up to the Chamber of God if you want to join us, my love. We're just going to talk about a different perspective on our trauma. So, once you can feel that reciprocation of love going on between you and your higher self, just allow yourself to bask in it. Don't try, it's there and it's flowing with you. And the reason why we're there is because it's going to help soothe all your energies before we start talking about this topic. And we're going to actually stay in the Chamber of God for the entirety of this portion of the live. Okay, so just allow yourself to just bask in it. Okay, so I'm going to keep talking, and while I am, I want you guys to just feel the flows of love from your higher self. And then if you have any questions which may come up for you, or you have some memories that you're okay to share, remember in the group it's confidential, we don't share outside this group what we've been, personal information that we're discussing. I want you to just kind of, if you feel comfortable sharing, please do, but don't feel obliged. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable while we're doing this. You'll get a real nudge from your higher self if they need you to share. All right? So the first thing I just want to clarify, because someone actually messaged me in the week about this, which is, what is the difference between stress and trauma? So stress is something where we trigger our adrenal glands, our vagus nerve adrenal glands, and cortisol levels. They rise temporarily, and it's a temporary state of being. And so when we go to sleep, normally our stress levels drop down and all of it sort of calms down, biologically speaking. But trauma is something that affects not just your physical aspect, it affects you mentally and emotionally. It also leads to a lot of low vibration being stored, and it can really make your daily vibration, your transitional vibration, really, really hard to cope with, and it leads to more stored low vibration. So with trauma, there is normally a shock aspect to it because it's unexpected. Unlike with stress, so you can have a stress from an unexpected situation, but you rapidly feel back in control. But with trauma, you often feel out of control or disempowered or helpless as well, is another thing that you might feel. Okay. You may also feel anger, grief, betrayal, a lot of these really heavy guilt, a lot of these really heavy emotions. And so that's the difference. Now, with trauma, what happens is you create lots of subconscious patterns that are stored in your brain. You might store the low stored vibration in your physical bodies. So you might have weight gain or illnesses. You may even have an injury that happened as a result. Okay, there are lots of things that can happen to you. You might find that boundaries are really hard for you, and friendships and relationships are really hard to maintain, partly because you don't have the energy and the capacity because your trauma is constantly triggering your mind, but partly also because you don't have the capacity to give to friendships and relationships that you would like to. So you'll often attract people who are low vibe and matching your vibration as well. So this is the difference between stress and trauma, and I just wanted to touch on that because someone asked me about it. So let's just talk about what can your trauma teach you. So I'm going to talk about my situation as I was growing up and what I have learned. I knew about this for a while, but I've never really talked about it with other people. So I had a lot of disruption in my childhood. Okay, I was born in India. I was an emergency cesarean because I was dying. Then at 6 weeks old, my mum left me in India. A month later, I joined them. No, 6 weeks later, I joined my parents again. My aunt and my cousins brought me over en route to another country. They came to the UK and brought me to my parents, and I met my dad for the first time when I was 12 weeks old. And then when I was 9, I experienced another separation from my parents. And these things don't sound like, oh, well, one happened when she was a newborn, another happened when she was 9. That's quite a gap. But through all of that, there were lots of little other disruptions going on. And each time I experienced a disruption, what I experienced was a sense of fear, a sense of loss. I was fearful that my mum was never coming back. I was convinced I was adopted. If you saw me next to my mum, you would know I am my mother's daughter because I look physically, facially very similar to my mum. I used to worry all the time that I would lose my parents or they'd be taken away from me. You know, I had all these kind of really low vibe fears going on as a child. Now, when I went to live in India when I was 9, I went to live with my maternal grandparents. And I didn't really know my family very well at that point. But I very rapidly became the referee between two members of my household in India. And I used to be the peacekeeper. And what was really interesting, and this is something I know in retrospect, is that I am able to see a different perspective that will bring harmony to other people. Now, when you're 9, 10, 11, 12, you don't think, oh, that's a capability, right? You just think, I want people to get along and I want them to be happy and I want them there to be peace and harmony between everyone. And this was a perfect example of me gaining something from a really, really challenging experience, because that experience of being sent to India when I was 9 made me feel rejected and unwanted by my parents. Remember, my parents were not rejecting me and abandoning me, but it's how it made me feel. So it's my perception of that situation. And what happened was that while I was in India, I began to learn certain things. I began to learn that I was really good at empathy. I was really, really good at communicating a different point of view to my family. I was really, really good at bringing harmony to a really upset situation. And even to this day, I met some friends the other day unexpectedly and they were feeling a bit discombobulated. And after a little while, they said, oh, I do feel better. I think it must be your effect. And that's kind of what I bring to a lot of people, that feeling of, oh, everything's going to be okay. So as a child, one of the things, or a couple of the things that I got from a really difficult situation was that I was really good at empathy. I was really good at trusting my intuition at that age. And I was really good at calming stormy waters. Now, while I was out there, someone tried grooming me as well. And out of that situation came a real sense of boundary around my physical body. Okay. So you have to understand that even in that kind of situation, it is possible to find a new perspective, right? Now, because I had low stored vibration, my reaction to that was to gain weight, so I became unattractive. But actually, over time and looking back with Athalia's help, I have been able to see a perspective of, okay, I got myself out of that situation. I didn't have anyone to turn to at that point, right? Because I felt like if I said it, I would be given the blame. It would have been my fault. Because that's how it was in those days, right? This is people operate in the way that they know at that time. They're doing the best they can at that time. But that doesn't mean it's always a great way to be. So when I was going through that experience, I was able to actually find my own autonomy and understand the boundary around my own body, right? Which means that I am very aware of other people's autonomy around their physicality. So when I worked with people and I did my physical work, hands-on work with them, I was very careful about how I worked with them. I was very, very respectful. I've had sessions where people, think nothing of kind of touch me right on my breasts. Or when I learnt Reiki, you weren't even allowed a blanket over your nether regions, even though you were wearing clothes. Some people were clearly uncomfortable with it. I was one of those. But the tutor was like, nope, that's what you have to do. And it's like, no, you don't. You can be respectful of people and give them autonomy over their bodies. If you've had a problem, say, with substance abuse, right, and you are recovering still, because with substance abuse you're never completely healed. It's a well, you are once you start doing your broadest truth and you work on being a high vibe person. But while you're in that process, it can be a really difficult time for you, and it can be really hard for you to see the good in that situation. But the good that comes out of that situation is first of all the understanding that your addiction came from a place of fear, and you are strong enough. This is the perspective shift. You are strong enough to choose love for yourself first, right? And it may not feel like it's love for you first. It may feel like desperation, that I have to make a new decision, a different decision. And every day with addiction and abuse and substance abuse, you have to keep making a new decision, right? That today I'm going to stay clean. Today I'm going to choose me. But people who experience that are some of the strongest people around. You have so much love to give, but very little outlet for that love. And so what your gain out of that situation, if there's going to be a gain, a new perspective, is actually I can turn that love inward and I can give myself love. So that's another thing that you might need to kind of understand about trauma and a perspective shift, okay? Then there's things like, sorry, I'm just getting things on my phone. Then there's things like death of a loved one. And this can be tricky. And I say this on the 12th anniversary of my dad's passing. So some of you will know this story. When my dad passed, he was away actually on a holiday. He was in the Himalayas with my mum and various other people on a trip. And I remember lying in bed. So before my parents had gone away, I'd had a really bad feeling about my parents going away. And I particularly felt like my dad was going to get lost. But I couldn't, it wasn't a concrete feeling. I had no other information. I had nothing to kind of say to me, yep, you know, this is a real thing. You need to speak up about it. So I didn't say anything. I just said to my dad, make sure your phone's charged and make sure your location is on all the time, because what I felt what might happen is that he might wander off and get lost. That's what I kept feeling. And in a manner of speaking, he kind of did, because he did wander off. He just transitioned. He didn't get lost. But I remember the shock of that day as clear as anything, right? And I remember lying in bed that night 12 years ago. I remember lying in bed just kind of going, what happened here? How did my life just implode like this? How did everything go so horribly wrong so quickly? And then I felt guilt. Why had I not spoken up? Why had I not stopped my parents going on that trip? But actually, the perspective shift I gained, it took a little while, I'll be honest, it wasn't immediate, but it was actually what came out of this was my growth. What I got that night was the first time I'd heard Athalia speak to me really clearly, and I didn't know it was her at that point. But I heard a voice that basically said, you agreed to this when you were in non-physical. And I was like, did I? Heck. There's no way I'd have agreed to this. And I'm like, no, you agreed to this because this was necessary for you. And I remember being really angry at the time about that message. But I can see it now, because my dad loved me and adored me so much. But in that was a desire to keep me really safe. And because he wanted to keep me safe, he wanted to keep me small, because then I was protected and no one could say anything or be horrible to me. So some of you might have experienced that from other family members or friends, not the death part. You might have experienced the I'm going to keep you small because I love you and I want to protect you and I'm fearful that the world outside is not going to be very nice to you. So for some of you, that is something you will have experienced. Now, going back to death, if you have experienced the death of a loved one and it was not expected and it was a shock, you sometimes think, why would I have experienced that? And some of it is about changing a perspective around death and understanding that death is not the end and that you remain connected to that person. B, it can be about helping you understand and bringing out a capability or an ability within you that allows you to live life more fully, right? Now that sounds like such a easy thing for me to say, and I know it's not an easy thing for whoever's experienced it. But what you understand from going through that experience is how precious this physical life is, and how it's incumbent on us to live that life as fully as possible, with as many experiences as possible. Fill ourselves up with laughter and love and good friendship and good relationships and good experiences, things that bring us huge joy, things that bring us immense love, because it's very easy to skate through life and just kind of be like, yeah, it's life, whatever. But it's not, because a lot of souls who think they're going to come here don't come here. I know there's 8 billion plus of us here, but those 8 billion plus, we are remarkable as souls because we are here. Billions more train, they just don't come. They change their minds and they stay in non-physical. So I'm going to ask you to, if this triggers you and you want to message me, please do. Really happy to try and give you a new perspective. If you have something you'd like to share with us, please share that with us. Remember, it's confidential. But I want you to understand that when you have trauma, you always have a choice of choosing your response. Now, as physical humans, obviously, we will sometimes choose, fear and grief and all those things. Perfectly normal. And I'm not saying you need to be like a robot and always choose love. What I'm saying to you is that allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to be shocked, but then, because you guys are all connected to your higher selves, I want you to then connect to your higher self, maybe in the chamber of God, just like we're doing today. This explains what Athalia wants you all here. And then go, okay, this really awful situation's happened to me. What am I supposed to learn from this? What is this thing giving me? What is the understanding I need to get from this? Is it that I need to sort of stop feeling sorry for myself? This is a pattern I need to break, that I feel sorry for myself and I feel hard done by, or I feel life has been unfair. And it's a mental pattern that you actually need to change, because we do live out our thoughts, right? If you know anything about the law of attraction, your life reflects your thoughts. So is that something that needs to change? Or is it that you need to learn to rejoice in life and live life more fully, right? When you lose a parent or a child, it is devastating. There is no doubt about it. And I'm not here to say to you, you should not grieve for that person. But I'm here to say to you, remember, the connection of love never dies. Now, it took me a long time to let my dad connect with me, because every time he connected with me, I'd just fall apart, right? But actually in recent months, and it's been 12 years since my dad died, but in recent months, what I've really been experiencing is him showing up. And he does it in the most kind of slightly shocking of ways, in that he keeps showing me people who look like him as a way to go, hi. And I'm like, oh. You know, I'm driving along or I'm in Asda and there's a guy and in profile it's exactly like my dad, and it's like him just showing up and saying, I'm still here. You may not think I am, but I am still here. And so it's about remembering that. So allowing your grief. I'm not saying, you know, stuff it down, because that is bad for your vibration. What I'm saying is it's an opportunity to remember that love, right? So, any questions from anyone at all? Let me just see. Ah, thank you, Zoe. That's very sweet. Just checking for any questions. So, yes, he did, didn't he? When Zoe stayed with me for a little while, and she was getting that my dad wanted to connect with me, and I wasn't really able. I wasn't in a place where I could actually do that because it would just devastate me. But I kind of, you know, it's taken me almost 12 years to get to this point, and this is what I mean about allow your grief. Don't pretend otherwise. I said to a friend recently, you know, my dad's death is something I live with every day. The rawness of it hasn't really changed. I don't think about his death every day, but I miss his physical presence most days. Some days it's not as conscious, some days it is very conscious. But it's like, I want you to just understand that there's no time limit, there's no rush. Just allow yourself to understand, with your higher self's help, to find that new perspective. Okay, right, let us move on to cards. So I'm just checking, do they? Okay, so I just want you to let go of the connection with the Chamber of God. So I'm going to ask your higher self to bring you back out of the out of the Chamber of God and keep you here. Right, and just take some deep breaths. They're going to stay connected to you because I feel like some of you need some really good messages. Have a drink of water. Hello, Patty. Lovely to meet you. Yeah, that's beautiful, Louise. Yeah, you can find ease and flow, and it might take a bit of time, um, but the thing is, you are important. This is what I mean about you're one of the 8 billion people, 8+ billion souls here. That makes you important, and you're here with reason. All of us are here with reason. That reason doesn't have to affect the world. It could be just you are so important for how your family are going to move forward. Hi, Jazz. How your family are going to move forward, because you're here to show them ease and flow, or you're here to show them that fear is not the only way to live our lives. And actually, we have opportunities throughout our day, throughout our week, throughout our life, where we can go, do you know what? I'm going to choose differently. I'm going to choose a loving thing for myself. That loving thing might be, I'm going to set a boundary, or that loving thing might be letting go of a grudge, or contacting someone that you haven't spoken to for many months because you realize actually the grudge means nothing because that person means more to you. And you do it from a place of, I love myself, so I'm doing this for myself. Their response is their business, and I don't need to worry about it. I will say Louise is the past master at ease and flow, and I've learned a lot from just watching how she is. And the thing about the trauma that Louise or any of you have experienced is that there's not just one thing to learn. There might be an overarching thing that you learn, but there will be lots of smaller lessons in there as well. So I would suggest that you guys connect with your higher selves, you ask them to take them to the Chamber of God, and then flow you the understandings and the perspective shifts you can gain from understanding about what the trauma in your life has brought you that is positive, and not just the low vibration that you've experienced. Okay, so that's it for tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed tonight, and I hope it's helped you all. If there's a topic you would like me to ask your teams about and talk about, please do let me know. My appeal to you for this week really is sign up to the High Self Connection. It's one I created with Athalia's help. The lovely Louise helped me put it together with the text side. But also share the link with your friends and family. And if they would like to connect to their higher selves, please invite them into the group. The more the merrier, really. I'm happy to read cards for more of you, and I'm happy to talk about all sorts of subjects. Always from a perspective of the higher self and of love, but I'm happy to talk about those things. So I'm going to love you and leave you. I think I'm going to go and sit in my garden for a little while it's lovely and cool. I hope the rest of you have a lovely evening, and I will see you back here next week. Take care now. Lots of love to you all, and sending you huge hugs.